Happy Sunday, it's Daydream. So for today, I will be doing the first ever Sunday snacks. And unfortunately, I don't have all the ingredients for some of the snacks I have planned, which I will get to in a bit. So that's why I'm glad that I live right by King Soopers. So let's bike. So I began biking and my seat felt uncomfortable right away, so I had to stop for a bit to be able to readjust it and everything, and I was on my merry way. My mom, who I was texting earlier, is actually at the nearby Starbucks, and so she had offered to pay for everything I got, and that was super nice because I really didn't want to pay for it by myself because, well, I'm poor. And so I passed by the King Soopers and went straight ahead to the Starbucks to be able to get my mom's credit card, and I ended up leaving my bike there since I'd have to go back anyway. I had gotten all the groceries. I started on my way back, but I had actually forgotten to grab my backpack before I left, and I do have a bike basket, but it's really small and wasn't able to fit all the stuff that I had gotten, and so that's one reason why I was so glad that my mom was at the Starbucks, because I was able to put some of the stuff in her car, so she would be able to drive back with that, and I was able to bring some of the stuff that might melt in her car with me, and so it ended up working out. Unfortunately, a tragedy was about to occur as I dropped my phone while I was biking. Yay! One of the desserts that I planned on making was this really cool healthy ice cream. I was already skeptical about how it was supposed to be made, since it was supposed to be made like how I'd make most smoothies, but it looked good, so I wanted to try it out. The second dessert that I was going to make was these Oreo chocolate truffles, and these ones I was super excited about, but I mean, it seemed a little sweet, and one of the ingredients was called Candy Quick, and I had so much trouble finding it. Of course, when you have as many siblings as I do, I have 4, the kitchen is always messy, so I had to start cleaning it up before I began. I decided to do a little, what's it called? A little time-lapse while I did it, because that helps me clean, knowing that I'm on camera for some strange reason. But I got to that. About the Candy Quick story, I have literally never bought Candy Quick in my life. And I had no idea what it was, but it was on the recipe, and so I tried asking someone about it, and they had no idea. So I started the recipe. I decided to start with the with the Oreo truffles, so I actually had to get double stuffed Oreos, since for some reason they didn't have anything else. I got white chocolate chips instead of Candy Quick, because that's all I could find, and I found out that it was melting chocolate eventually, obviously. I had a bit of trouble getting the stuff out, but I got a blender, because you're supposed to start by blending the Oreos first, which I followed by. They actually wanted a food processor, but I mean, who has a food processor? A lot of these things for this chocolate truffle thing I had never heard about, nor did I have in my house. Like, there was like this small cookie scoop that I was supposed to have, and I didn't have that, and so I just used a spoon in my hands, which you'll see later, because it became quite a mess. But anyways, this took a bit, since I was worried, since I didn't have a food processor. I was thinking, well, what if it doesn't turn out well? What if it turns all watery? But I have a nice blender, so I think that it would have worked out in the end anyways. I was trying to figure out the settings right here on how I would get to it, so I ended up doing pulse, and I think it worked out. It turned out okay when I did that. So I was opening up my double stuffed Oreos. I was hoping that the double stuff wouldn't affect it very much, since that was another thing that I was worried about, since, of course, I couldn't find regular, and so it was either double stuff, birthday cake, or mega stuff, and I didn't want to do birthday cake. I actually probably should have gotten the birthday cake, come to think of it, since I was worried. I was just worried about the double stuff being a little much. And so I started up with the blending, and you can see right away when I turn this on that I actually get a bit scared, and it really surprised me, and so anyways, but I started blending it up. I think the double stuff made it stick to the sides a bit, which unfortunately I had to eventually get a fork and start clearing out the sides to make it work. So in the end, my blender worked just as well as any food processor, and so it was all fine, good, and dandy. I got a bowl to be able to put the remains in, And I think that it ended up going pretty great with the blender. The pole setting, it did work out, and the double stuff, I don't think it affected it too much. It was a bit clumpy as I was pouring it into the bowl, so I just stuck my hands in there and tried to disintegrate it a bit, but of course that was a bit messy, so I washed my hands a lot before and after and during while making this recipe. It was sticky and messy, but it was a lot of fun to make, and I really loved doing it. So, yeah. So once all the grinding up was done with the entire pack of Oreos, I started to take out my electric mixer with the little paddle attachment and needed to add in the cream cheese. So I couldn't find the blocks to get an 8-ounce cream cheese for this snack. So I had to eventually just dig it out because I found like the little, whatever it's called, container, but actually, the little lid part was a bit hard to take off for some strange reason. But once I got it off, I just started scooping it all out and tried to get it out. Tried to get as much of it out to the best of my ability, just because I didn't have the blocks. And I did go to the store, but it just wasn't 8 ounces, and this was the first thing I found, and it was a lot easier than trying to closely examine all the cream cheese blocks. But once I got it all out, I put on the electric mixer with my precious paddle attachment, and I started mixing it up until all combined, just like the recipe said. So, and of course I added in the little cookie crumbles, and it looked so good once it was finished. It just looked absolutely delicious. While it was all getting combined, I started getting a pan ready later on in the video, and I lined it up with parchment paper, had to get everything ready, and then once all the mixing was done, I started rolling it up, and it got really messy, and that's where I had to wash my hands a lot before, during, and after, but especially since I didn't have the little small cookie scoop, because I don't think anyone has that except for apparently the people who made these recipes. So, fun, yay. So once I was all done wrapping them up, they looked a little big to me, but I was certain that wouldn't really affect my recipe. I melted down the white chocolate chips to be able to make this little creamy mixture that looked really good. And then the recipe said to dip each individual truffle into the white chocolate mix. And once I did that, I realized that it was pretty messy, and it was just really uneven, and I didn't really like doing it that way, so I was thinking about how I would change it, and how maybe I could improve off of it, especially since, the white chocolate would go to waste all over my fingers, and I couldn't eat that much white chocolate. Anyways, so I washed it off, and I grabbed a spoon to be able to equally put all of the white chocolate all over the truffles, and yes, that was messy, but mostly on the pan and not all over my fingers, which honestly was a bit better for me. I preferred that, and then if I ever wanted to pluck it off the tin foil, then that would have worked. But I got my spoon, and it was pretty even. It didn't get all over it like it was in the recipe, but that was fine, and I really liked the look and the feel of these truffles. And that's how they turned out. Yum. I had to put them in the freezer, so I took out some of the strawberries and the frozen banana that I froze, obviously, and started peeling it up to make the next recipe while I put the truffles in the freezer. So this banana had a bit of a rough peel to it since it was frozen, but eventually I got it, and the recipe said just to blend up the strawberries and the banana. But of course, I was a bit skeptical of this, as I said at the very beginning, because that's how I make a smoothie. I use frozen fruits and I add milk, which the recipe told me to do, and that's how I make a good smoothie. It doesn't normally turn out to be ice cream. And how I would change this recipe in the future is I would add less milk, so that it's a bit more thick, and then the half cup of milk that the recipe told me to add, because that made it turn out like a smoothie, and as I thought from the very beginning. And honestly, it tasted good, but it was a smoothie, as I'll mention later, really. So once I was all done with this recipe, I decided to pop it in the freezer, but I didn't want to have to wait all day and all night for it to be able to freeze up. So I eventually just drank it like a smoothie. It was good. So, I mean, if you ever want to have a good, healthy smoothie, then this is the way to make it. Alright, so I actually forgot to record my first try of it all, and so I'm just gonna explain how it was for me. So, first, let's start with the little Oreo truffles. I didn't like them very much, to be completely honest. They were really, like, rich and sweet. It was a little too rich and sweet for me. And they were also really, I think I made the little truffles too big because they were really soft and squishy and not very good. And I would have put them in the freezer for longer. Actually, that's where they are right now. The healthy ice cream wasn't ice cream. It actually turned out to be a smoothie. It wasn't frozen. It was too liquidy. The recipe just didn't really work out very well. Brody. Sorry, that's my dog. And really, it was good. It tasted good, but it was a smoothie, not ice cream. Anyways, that's all for today, Daydreamers. Thank you so much for watching this video. The QFTC for today, also this question for the comments, is what is your favorite snack? I had a lot of fun making this video. Admittedly, the things didn't turn out as well as they could have. I'm wondering if I did something wrong. But it was a lot of fun to make all the same, and I can't wait to make more videos. See you next time!